She sat on the cold stone steps, soaked to the skin, eating from a plastic container like she couldn't feel the rain anymore, and for the first time, he saw her not as the maid, but as something breaking. If you're ready to hear the whole story, click subscribe and let me know in the comments where you're watching from, because tomorrow, I will be giving you another story just as crazy as this one. And you don't want to miss it. Now let's get into it. The mansion was always quiet by 8 p.m. The staff knew the rules. No clattering dishes, no loud talking, and certainly no music. At that hour, the only sounds permitted were the ones Mr. Alistair Hayes allowed. The tick of the grandfather clock, the hum of distant jazz from his study, and his own echoing footsteps on imported marble. Alistair had built his empire from nothing: tech investments, real estate, cold, calculating vision. People said he had the Midas touch, but inside those walls, everything was gray. His house, a modern glass and steel palace on the edge of the city, was a monument to control. Spotless. Silent. He preferred it that way. Then came her. He didn't even know her name at first. Just that she was hired by the agency after the last maid quit abruptly. Quiet girl. Late 20s, maybe early 30s. Always in a plain black uniform with her hair tied back. He never paid much attention. Maids came and went. But this one didn't go. She arrived early. Left late. Worked without being asked. Didn't speak unless spoken to. Never complained. And never, ever, entered the main house unless she had to. If he ever noticed her, it was only as a flicker in the background. Like furniture that moved. Until the night it rained. It was supposed to be a normal evening. Alistair was returning home from a gala. Another soulless event filled with flattery and empty champagne glasses. The sky cracked open halfway through his drive. By the time his car pulled up the long driveway, the rain was coming down in sheets. He stepped out, the driver rushing to shield him with an umbrella. That's when he saw her. At the far end of the courtyard, just beyond the servants' quarters, she was sitting on the stone steps. Alone. No umbrella. No jacket. Just her uniform soaked through, clinging to her frame like a second skin. In her lap, a small plastic container. Some cold rice, a bit of fish. She was eating in the rain. Alistair froze. She didn't see him. Or maybe she did, and just didn't care. She chewed slowly, like someone who wasn't really hungry, but eating out of habit. Like someone who didn't notice they were cold. Or wet. Or being watched. She looked broken. Not dramatically. Not with sobs or tears. Just empty. Still, something about that image, a maid eating leftovers in the storm, struck him harder than he could explain. In his world, discomfort was avoided. Problems were outsourced. Yet there she was, choosing solitude over shelter, eating in silence instead of the warmth of the staff kitchen. The next day, he asked the head housekeeper about her. The maid, he said stiffly, not wanting to sound curious. The new one. Lucia? Mrs. Carter said. Yes, she's quiet. Hardworking. Bit of a loner, but nothing wrong with her work. Lucia, he repeated the name. It felt strange on his tongue. From that moment on, he started noticing her more. The way she always looked slightly tired, like sleep didn't visit her often. The way she paused before entering a room, as if bracing herself. The way she avoided eye contact, not out of shyness, but as if she feared being seen. He told himself it wasn't his concern. But it was. Something in him had stirred, and once it did, it wouldn't settle. The rain had stopped by morning, but something lingered in the air, that heavy stillness after a storm when the world feels washed clean but not quite whole. Alistair didn't go into his study like he usually did. Instead, he walked into the kitchen, not the chef's kitchen he had designed upstairs for show, but the staff kitchen below, the one he hadn't stepped into in years. Lucia was there, wiping down a counter. She didn't look up when he entered. Her posture stiffened, though, like her body could sense presence before her eyes confirmed it. I need a coffee, he said, then immediately regretted how sharp it sounded. He wasn't used to softening his voice. She nodded, wordless, and moved toward the machine. Why were you outside last night? He asked. The question landed heavy. Lucia froze mid-motion, her hand hovering over the cupboard door. She didn't turn. Didn't speak. You were eating in the rain, he added. On the steps. Now she turned. Slowly. Eyes steady. There wasn't space inside. There's a staff room. A kitchen. You have options. Her mouth twitched, not quite a smile, more like disbelief. Some spaces aren't made for certain people, she said. It wasn't defiance. It was quiet fact. Like someone repeating a lesson learned the hard way. Alistair didn't respond. He wasn't sure how to. He left without the coffee. That night, he watched her again. She was setting the table in the dining room, a space she entered only briefly each evening. She moved like she didn't want to leave traces. Napkins folded with perfect corners. Cutlery aligned with surgical precision. He cleared his throat. She startled. Lucia. Her name felt less foreign this time. Yes, sir? You don't have to eat out there. She gave him a look. Not rude. Not grateful. Just blank. Like she'd stopped hoping people meant what they said. Thank you, she said and walked out. Later, he asked Carter about her again. Does she live here? She has a room above the garage, the housekeeper replied. She never asked for anything bigger. Family? Carter hesitated. She doesn't talk about them. What's her story? I don't think she tells stories, Mr. Hayes. She just works. That night, Alistair stayed up. In his world, information was power, and he couldn't stop thinking about her eyes, tired, unreadable, like a book no one had tried to open in years. By midnight he gave in. He stepped out onto the back patio. The moon was out. The courtyard was quiet, still wet from the storm. Same steps. Same position. Different meal. This time, she saw him before he saw her. She stood quickly, hiding the container behind her. I'm sorry. Don't, he said, walking toward her. Don't get up. She hesitated. You do this often? Lucia blinked, unsure how to answer. I like the quiet, she finally said. And no one looks for me here. He sat on the step below her, ignoring the dampness soaking into his tailored trousers. No one should have to hide to eat. She looked at him, really looked this time. Some of us grew up hiding everything. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was heavy, full of things neither of them wanted to explain. Then he asked, almost against his better judgment, How long have you worked here? 6 months. And before this? She shrugged. Other houses. And before that? She turned away. I used to be a nurse. That stopped him cold. What happened? A long pause. My son died. He hadn't expected that. Not so plainly. Not so fast. How old? 5. His throat tightened. Something deep and dormant stirred. I'm sorry. She nodded once. Not dismissive. Just accepting. Like someone who'd heard it all before and learned not to expect more. I stopped nursing after that, she said. Too many kids in pain. Couldn't look at them without seeing him. He couldn't find words. All the polished speeches and boardroom charm melted into silence. Sometimes, she added, when it rains, it feels like I'm back in that hospital. The way the windows used to fog up. The cold. The smell. He wanted to say something that would matter. But he didn't. They sat in silence for a long while. Rain wasn't falling, but the air felt damp again. For the first time in years, Alistair didn't feel alone in his own house. Have you ever had a moment with someone? Quiet, unexpected, that changed how you saw them forever? Share yours below. The next morning, Lucia avoided the main house. She stayed in the laundry wing longer than usual, folding towels that didn't need folding, wiping shelves already clean. It wasn't shame, not exactly, more like the uneasy sense of a line being blurred. And she didn't know if she'd crossed it, or if he had. Alistair noticed her absence. He checked the kitchen, the courtyard, even the back steps. Nothing. By afternoon, he found her hauling a basket of sheets into the linen room. You're avoiding me, he said. She looked startled. No, sir. I just have work. You had work yesterday too. But you sat outside. Lucia didn't respond. I didn't mean to intrude, he added. Last night. You didn't. He waited, but she didn't say more. You told me something personal, he said. I don't take that lightly. She glanced at him, unsure if it was a compliment or a warning. I don't usually talk about him, she said softly. I'm not sure why I did. Alistair leaned against the doorway. Maybe because someone finally asked. Lucia gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. Then it vanished. I should get back to work. He let her leave. That night he sat in his study, staring at a glass of untouched bourbon. Jazz played faintly from the speakers. For the first time, it felt like noise. Like clutter. He thought about what she'd said, about hiding, about pain that doesn't ask permission to linger. And he hated how familiar it felt. The next few days followed a strange rhythm. He saw her in passing. She was polite, efficient, distant. But her eyes, they flickered when they met his. A flicker of recognition. Of something unspoken. He wanted to ask her to talk again. But didn't. She wanted to pretend nothing had shifted. But couldn't. One afternoon, they crossed paths in the hallway. He'd come home early from a meeting that bored him. She was polishing the banister. He stopped. So why here? He asked. Why this house? Lucia straightened. It pays on time. No one asks too many questions. And you want that? I did. He took a step closer. And now? I don't know, she admitted. You changed something. He nodded. You did the same. They stood there, two people bound by grief they couldn't explain, in a house too large for either of them to feel at home in. Then she stepped back. I can't do anything with this, she said. Whatever this is. I'm not asking you to. Good. Her voice cracked slightly on that word. He watched her go, the distance between them stretching again, but not snapping. Not yet. Later that week, Carter mentioned Lucia had asked for 2 days off. She never does that, the housekeeper said, puzzled. Said it was personal. Alistair didn't ask where she was going. But he felt it. The space she left behind. The call came early. Lucia had just returned from her time off, stepping through the side entrance with damp hair and a plastic bag clutched to her chest. Before she could set it down, Carter appeared in the hall. Mr. Hayes needs you. Lucia froze. Now. He dismissed the driver this morning. Decided to take the car himself. Got halfway to the city and called, flat tire. You're the only one around who can drive the second car. Lucia blinked. You want me to? Carter gave a tight smile. He specifically asked for you. The drive was silent at first. Alistair sat in the passenger seat, coat draped over his lap, tie slightly loosened. Lucia kept both hands on the wheel, eyes forward. I didn't know you could drive, he said eventually. You didn't ask. He nodded, lips tight. Where did you go? On your days off. Lucia hesitated. Cemetery. He didn't pry further. He didn't have to. The silence this time didn't feel cold, just cautious. A few miles in, the rain started. Not heavy, just enough to blur the windows. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, jaw tightening. What is it? She asked before she could stop herself. My sister, he muttered. Canceling again. Something important? She was supposed to meet me today. First time in months. Lucia nodded slowly. Family's complicated. He gave a humorless chuckle. Ours was. Then it became non-existent. You still try, she said quietly. Alistair turned toward her. Why do you? Because I'm still here. That landed harder than expected. They didn't make it back right away. The rain worsened, and a fallen tree blocked the road leading home. A detour took them through winding back roads, the kind GPS signals forget. Then the second car sputtered. Lucia eased it to the side. Overheated, she said. This model does that. He stared at the dashboard, then out at the gray wash of woods. Of course it does. She looked at him. We'll need to wait it out. No signal? She held up her phone. One bar, blinking. They sat in the quiet, the rain tapping the windshield in slow, deliberate rhythms. Can I ask you something? He said. She didn't answer, but she didn't say no. Why don't you let anyone in? Lucia exhaled slowly. Letting people in costs something. And I've already paid too much. He looked down at his hands. I don't let people in either. She glanced at him. That obvious? No. But I know the signs. She shifted in her seat. My son's father left when I was pregnant. I worked nights to survive. Then I worked days too. One night, I came home late from a shift and he was already sick. Fever. Trouble breathing. I thought I could fix it. I was a nurse, remember? But her voice caught. He died while I was changing the sheets. Alistair didn't speak. The way she said it, plain, unadorned, made it worse. After that, she whispered, I couldn't touch another patient. Couldn't walk into another hospital. So I cleaned houses. I folded towels. I disappeared. He swallowed. You didn't disappear. I did. Until you saw me. He turned to her fully now. I saw a woman eating in the rain. But I didn't know how much pain she was carrying. She nodded. You weren't supposed to. They sat like that for a long moment, no sound but the soft hiss of the engine cooling. Then he said, Do you want to come inside when we get back? Lucia looked at him, searching for meaning. Inside where? My world, he said quietly. Just for a while. She didn't answer. But she didn't look away either. Lucia stepped into the main house. Not as staff, not this time. Alistair had left the side door open, lights dimmed, table set for two. No guests. No wine. Just simple food, warm and waiting. He didn't speak when she walked in. Just pulled out the chair across from him. She hesitated, then sat. I didn't want you to feel like this was anything you didn't choose, he said. I'm still not sure what this is, she replied. Neither am I. They ate in silence. The kind that doesn't press. Just breathes. Halfway through the meal, she said, It's strange. What is? I've worked in dozens of houses. Cleaned places bigger than this. But I never once sat at their tables. You deserve to. That's not the same as being wanted at one. He met her eyes. You are. For a moment, neither blinked. Then he said softly, You asked why I noticed you. She nodded. My mother used to eat in silence too. After my father left. Every night at the same time, same chair. It was like watching someone shrink. Lucia watched him, expression unreadable. I never did anything about it, he added. I just watched. She set down her fork. You were a kid. I was old enough to know she needed more than silence. Lucia stood. This, she gestured around them, this feels like kindness, but I don't know what to do with it. You don't have to do anything. That's not true, she said. People like me don't get invited in unless someone wants something. His brow furrowed. Is that what you think this is? She didn't answer. He stood too. I didn't bring you here for anything other than the... Her voice dropped. That's exactly why it scares me. She turned to leave. He reached for her arm, gentle, not forceful. She flinched. His hand dropped instantly. Lucia exhaled, shoulders tight. I'm sorry, he said. She shook her head. No. That's not on you. That's old history. He stepped back, gave her space. Then, without looking at him, she said, When I left for those 2 days, I didn't go just to visit the cemetery. He waited. I met with someone. Family? She nodded. His father. First time in years. His chest tightened. Why now? He reached out. Said he wanted to talk. Said he changed. But he didn't. He just wanted to know if I'd forgive him so he could sleep better at night. Alistair swallowed hard. I didn't give him what he came for, she said. But I left feeling like I gave away something else. What? My stillness. She looked at him then. You ever lose that? The place inside you where things don't move. He nodded. Every time I let someone close. There was a long, still pause. Lucia's hands trembled. She pressed them together. I can't do this, she whispered. Not if it means breaking again. And I can't ask you to, he said. She took a breath, but it shook on the way out. Then she walked past him. Not running. Not storming off. Just walking away before she shattered. Alistair didn't follow. He watched the door close behind her. The food cooled. The room felt larger. And for the first time in years, he realized silence could feel like punishment. Lucia stayed in her room above the garage. For 2 days, she didn't step foot inside the main house. She cleaned what was required, took shifts no one asked her to, kept her head down, ate alone. She didn't sit on the steps anymore. The rain had returned, light but steady, and for the first time, she stayed inside. Alistair didn't summon her. He didn't send Carter with messages or ask about her whereabouts. He let the distance stretch. But he felt every inch of it. He sat in his study most nights, staring at nothing. He didn't touch the piano, didn't pour the usual bourbon. He just sat with the space she'd left behind, quiet, but now undeniably present. On the third morning, she found something outside her door. A book. Worn spine. No note. The things we cannot say. She turned it over in her hands. He'd listened. That night in the car, she'd mentioned she used to read to her son. Said she missed reading out loud. Said stories had once been the only place she felt safe. She almost cried then, but didn't. Later that evening, he stepped out onto the back patio. The rain had stopped. The sky had cracked open, bruised and pale from storm. Lucia was already there. Standing, not sitting. Watching the garden below. "You left me a book," she said. He nodded. "I thought you might like it." "I did. I read the whole thing. Out loud." She smiled faintly. "To the walls." They stood side by side, not speaking. Then she said, "You didn't follow me that night." "No." "Why?" "Because I didn't want to be another person who pushed." She nodded slowly. "I noticed." He looked at her. Really looked. "Lucia," he said, "I don't know what this is. I just know that when you're not around, this house feels colder than usual." She exhaled. "I've spent years trying not to feel," she said. "Trying to make my world small. Controlled." He waited. "But you ruined that." "I'm sorry." She looked at him. "I'm not." Silence passed like a held breath. Then she added, "I don't know how to love someone again. But I know how to be honest." He stepped closer. "That's all I want. No promises. No pressure." "I can't be someone else's healing," she whispered. "You don't have to be. Just be here." The pause. "All right," she said. "But only if you stop eating alone." A breath of something between a laugh and a sigh escaped him. "Deal." The sun broke through 3 days later. Not aggressively. Just soft light, resting on the windows like it had nowhere else to be. Lucia was in the greenhouse, watering plants no one had touched in months. Alistair watched from the threshold. She didn't hear him come in. Her focus was on a single fern, half-browned, half-clinging. "You brought it back," he said. She turned, not startled this time. "It just needed light." He stepped in. "Some things do." There was a pause, gentle, not heavy. "Mrs. Carter says you've been making coffee in the mornings," she said, smiling. "I thought I'd try it myself." "You drink it black?" "Badly. But yes." She handed him a mug. He took it. "You never used to come down here," she said. "I never used to feel anything here." Lucia leaned against the potting bench. "That night, the one with the tree in the road. I told myself I'd forget it. File it away." "Did you?" "No," she said. "I remember every word." He set his mug down. Moved a little closer. "Sometimes I still wake up thinking someone's calling my name," she whispered. "It's always his voice. I know it's not real. But I still listen." He didn't interrupt. "I used to be afraid that if I let anyone get close, I'd forget him. That healing meant losing the parts of him that stayed." She turned to face him. "But I was wrong. He doesn't go away. He just steps aside. When I let someone in." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small photo, bent at the corners, time-worn. A boy, maybe 7, grinning at the edge of a dock. "My nephew," he said. "I was supposed to take him fishing that summer. I canceled. Told him I was too busy." Lucia looked at him, softening. The next weekend, they were in the car. A drunk driver hit them. Her breath caught. "I've spent years trying to buy silence around that memory," he said. Turns out, silence is the only thing that makes it worse. She didn't speak, just reached for the photo. Held it gently. You don't forget the ones you lose, she said. You just make room for them in new places. That evening, they sat on the back steps. She had a new container, warm soup, shared between them. The rain had stopped. He watched her eat. Not because it was odd anymore, but because he didn't want to miss the way the light touched her face. She noticed. Still staring, she asked. Still learning, he replied. A quiet smile bloomed. Lucia, he said after a long pause, I know this isn't a storybook. I know you're not here to be saved. I just want to build something real. If you're willing. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned her head against his shoulder. I'm not good at new beginnings, she whispered. Then we don't call it that. What do we call it? He looked out across the wet lawn. A continuation. She nodded. That I can do. Inside the house, the dining table stayed set for two. In the mornings, there were 2 mugs on the counter. In the evenings, music still played from the study, softer now, less for distraction, more for company. He never asked her to quit the job. She stayed anyway. But not as the maid. As the woman who taught a man how to feel again. And the man who finally understood that sometimes, the greatest wealth is simply being seen, in the rain, in silence, in grief, and loved anyway. Have you ever felt truly seen by someone, even when you were trying to hide? What did it change for you? Tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.